Welcome to Ireland with Michael. I'm Michael Andra, and this is the show where I get to tell you everything I love about my home country, the only way I know how, through music. Today I'm in County Clare. We're standing at the edge of the world on Ireland's famous Cliffs of Moher, on the Wild Atlantic Way.
Ireland with Michael is made possible by
VenueWorks, bringing the excitement of live entertainment, sporting events, and community gatherings to venues across America.
Whether travelling to Ireland for the first time or longing to return, we will give you a warm Irish welcome. To learn more about Ireland or to plan a visit, go to ireland.com. Fill your heart with Ireland.
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.
Exposed to the tumultuous Atlantic, Ireland's west coast has some of the Emerald Islands' most stunning scenery, but the Cliffs of Moher may just be the pièce de résistance. Reaching up 700 feet above the sea, there's truly something inconceivable about these cliffs, which is exactly what made them the perfect filming location for the Cliffs of Insanity in The Princess Bride. Now, I wouldn't recommend anyone try climbing its sheer face, but the views on the hike up top are truly breathtaking. At peak season, there are an astounding 30,000 pair of birds living along the cliffs, including large colonies of the adorable Atlantic puffin. The visitor centre here is great for learning more about this lively neighbourhood of Ireland's wildlife. And just a 5-minute hike from the centre is O'Brien's Tower, built on the highest point of the cliffs. Sir Cornelius O'Brien built the tower in 1835 as a tea room and observation tower for English tourists. Or at least that's the public version of the story. Rumour has it old Cornelius really built the place to impress a woman. Whether or not it worked is lost to history, but we can think of this as the 1830s version of buying a Mustang in your 50s. Back in my college days in Limerick, we'd spend many's the weekend on the west coast of the county. For me, County Clare, or the Banner as it's known, is the capital of traditional music. It's where I learned the difference between a jig and a reel, a hornpipe and a polka. We'd hike all day on beaches, rocky headlands, and way too close to cliff's edge out to the Atlantic. By the end of the day's hike, we'd be ready for pints and tunes in any number of pubs along that coast. Starting in the south and heading northward, some of my favourites are Friel's in Milltown Malbay, Kenny's in Lahinch, Cooley's in Ennistimon, on to Gus O'Connor's in Doolin, and the Roadside Tavern in Listoon Varna. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Why don't we hop on over to a great stop-off point to the natural splendour of the West, the famed city of Limerick. Limerick is known as the gateway to the Wild Atlantic Way. It's also home to a lively scene of young musicians redefining Irish music at home and abroad. So let's go meet a few.
I don't believe in ghosts and dreams. These crooked little smiles are tearing at their seams. I'll throw it all away. So come the end of day, I'll be on my way.
I'm standing on the banks of the Shannon here in Limerick City with one of my favourite new Irish bands, One for the Foxes. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
We've got Tig, David and Joanna. Tig, how come you're all here together in Limerick? Because I know you're from all places.
Yeah, so the Limerick connection for us now is we all studied at the university here. Myself and Dave did the undergraduate programme in Irish music, and Joanna, myself and Dave overlapped, and then Joanna came on a couple of years after and did the MA programme over there, so in Irish music performance. So that's really the sort of the music hub there in Limerick is what's brought us all here.
I don't know how to settle in. They put cinnamon and everything, and I don't feel the same as anyone I see. You had the best of me, but now there's nothing left of me.
And tell us, David, how did you come together to form this band?
Yeah, so we've all been playing music actively on the scene for quite a while, and we kind of realised that there was a musical connection between the three of us, and we're all interested in writing new music. So that kind of was the origins of us wanting to get together and kind of get our own sound out there.
It's a more modern sound, would
Yeah,
you say?
we kind of took nothing off the table was our starting point, I suppose. Like everything was an option. But all our roots are in kind of acoustic folk music or traditional Irish music, and that kind of informs a lot of what we do, but we're happy to take it in new directions and try out new sounds, you know.
And speaking of new directions, Joanna, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Denver, Colorado, in the States.
And so how does it feel to be an American learning about and playing Irish music here in Ireland?
I love it. I feel so lucky to have this opportunity, and I grew up listening to and playing a lot of different styles of music, and a lot of the American folk music has roots in Irish music, so to be able to come here as I was a little bit older and actually kind of come back to those roots and see how it all connects was just incredible.
So what I really want to talk about is the blend of traditional music and modern music, and how you walk that fine line, and how you raise it to its kind of best potential.
Well, I'd say, like, for me, having grown up listening to rock and roll and classical music and so much American music, blues and swing, and then loving this traditional style of music, I think meeting two other people who shared that openness and said we don't necessarily need to fit into one category, but we go for the sounds that we love, and we, I think, trust our ear and are willing to kind of take that leap a little bit outside the typical lines, I think, and we're still discovering it. I think we have a lot ahead of us to still keep exploring.
To go, you won't know until I go, but I don't need you now. So I will rise and take my leave. I won't know you anymore, 'cause I don't need you now. So I will rise and take my leave. I won't know you anymore.
What I love about One for the Foxes is the way they're building on Irish traditions that are hundreds, if not thousands of years old. So although it may seem like overkill, I wanted to go back, all the way back. This is the Paulnabrona Dolmen, a Neolithic tomb built before the pyramids. At over 5,000 years old, you get a sense of the legacy, indeed the mystery that roots Irish identity. A dolmen consists of two or more megaliths, or to put it simply, big rocks, supporting a large flat capstone. This particular dolmen makes up some of the earliest evidence for human activity in all of Ireland. Well before we had metal, we Irish were making things to pass down to future generations. Standing before it, it's hard to imagine how manpower and ingenuity alone moved the seemingly immovable. Generally, archaeologists think these dolmen may have been tombs, but no one really knows what they were for. They may have had some other ritual purpose or have been used to mark territory. And marking territory out here would have been vital. You see, this is the Burren, the otherworldly limestone uplands of northwestern County Clare. While hopping along the Burren, what strikes you first about this lunar landscape is the stark beauty of the rock cutting against the lush green pasture. It's that pasture which makes this region so much more than a pretty wasteland. As an officer under the infamous Oliver Cromwell observed in 1651, of this barony it is said that it is a country where there is not water enough to drown a man, wood enough to hang one, nor earth enough to bury them. Despite what he said back then, the sparse grasses were put to great use by sheep, and in the spring beautiful wildflowers bloom, transforming the whole scene into a spectacle of colour in this often bleak-looking landscape. The Burren is indeed one of the stranger places on the planet, a rocky desert teeming with life. And there's no better spot to learn about the place than here at the Burren Centre in the gorgeous village of Kilfenora. These exhibits are a truly fascinating insight into the history of erosion, which is responsible for today's ancient limestone hillsides, as well as providing a deep dive into the hundreds of species of animals which have called the Burren home. And let me tell you, some of these guys were impressive. The exhibits also recreate how humans first carved out a precarious existence here, examining Neolithic axe heads and exploring evidence of pottery as well as the first Fuluchtfia, bronze-aged ovens. And because it's Ireland, while you're visiting, you're likely to stumble right into some slightly more recent history. Yes, it's true. Ireland really does have its fair share of ancient churches, but this one's pretty special. Kilfenora Cathedral, right next door to the Burren Centre, was built on an ancient monastic site in 1189. You want to open it up? Luckily for me, I had groundskeeper Tim Keane to keep me company, show me around this little treasure, and explain exactly how incredible some of this stuff really is. Tim, you know a little bit about this place. Would you do me a favour? Would you tell me about this beautiful font here?
Yes, 11th, 12th century, carved out of a limestone. It's still in perfect working order.
It is, and there's the original stopper is still in the place, right?
Original stopper, yeah, made of lead. Yeah.
How many people do you think have been baptised in this one?
There hasn't been any now for a long time.
Oh, right, I suppose we need to keep it in working order.
Yeah.
The cathedral was built after the King of Munster burnt down the previous monastery. But the north wall of the nave still stands and seems to have done so for over a millennium. For a while there in the early 1200s, Kilfenora had its own bishop, but the position was quickly absorbed into a larger, more regional diocese. The cathedral stood ever since, and the result is 600 years of additions made throughout the Middle Ages, so that what we see today is a mishmash of architectural styles from throughout history, each coming with their own intricately carved details which have weathered the centuries. What may be most special, however, are the cathedral's many high crosses. In fact, Kilfenora is known as the City of Crosses for its high concentration of these relics. Found throughout Ireland, high crosses are a lot like the Instagram of the Middle Ages, visual retellings of stories from the Bible carved into stone. Impressive today, these would have been absolutely stunning back then. You see, what's left standing is only half the story. When these were originally built, they would have been painted in all manner of dramatic colours, enabling the average illiterate peasant some understanding of the stories which shaped their lives. In this way, they would have served the same purpose as music, granting some sense of the divine to the masses. Let's listen to the group Clorshi Navi, which fittingly translates as heavenly harps, to see how these crosses inspire. there's one more stop I want to make in the Burn Centre. Everything in this parlour, the instruments, the old photographs, all of it is here to celebrate one of Ireland's greatest musical gems, the Kilfenora Céilí Band. Although not quite the Dolmens 5,000, or even the monastery's 1,000 years old, the Kilfenora Céilí Band still wows for having been around for over 100 years. And still going strong at that. This cultural institution is really what makes Kilfenora world famous. Through world wars, revolutions, and the foundation of the Irish Republic itself, the Kilfenora Céilí Band has kept on playing, often inviting 3 or more generations of the same family up on stage to perform together in nights of unmistakable Irish jubilation. What is a Céilí? Well, simply put, it's a party with traditional music and dance to remind all of us that we're all part of a long story that's still being told. In fact, this exhibit is already inspiring a whole new generation to embrace our proud traditions. Kids and adults alike are invited in to share their traditional talents. I was lucky enough to see 3 young performers of the Sean-Nós dance, a looser style, perfect for a Céilí. So you must be out of breath from all that dancing. Tell me, you are fantastic. What is your name?
Bethan Marsh.
Hi, Bethan Marsh. Tell me, how long have you been dancing?
5 years.
5 years? But what age are you now?
11.
Oh my, so you started when you were 6?
Yeah.
And do you have to practice a lot?
Well, I go to lessons twice a week.
Oh, very good. Do you practice at home, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you think I could be as good a dancer as you one day if I practiced?
I think.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. I'm not so sure she's crazy about my dance skills. Just as well I can sing in tune. I'm going to head into Glór, one of Ireland's premier venues in the capital of Clare, the town of Ennis, where Kilfenora Céilí Band themselves are having a sound check. John, Tim, my heart is beating fast after just hearing my first ever live sound check from the Kilfenora Céilí Band. As a boy from Wexford, I am very happy to be over here on the West Coast listening to a very, very exciting sound check. Tell us what we're doing here in Ennis, County Clare.
Well, we're in Glór in Ennis in County Clare, and it's our home county. Kilfenora 16 miles northwest of here, and we perform our new programme here, and we have 2 concerts here that sell out for the last 10 years, and we bring our new programme to our audience, and we always like to test it out at home first, because we have a very particular audience here that are particular about their music, and we feel if it passes here that we'll be able to take it into the country then. So that's what we're doing here now, Michael, and you're very welcome.
Thank you very much. I feel like I'm at some sort of test drive for a national tour for the Kilfenora Céilí Band. In listening to the music there today, I noticed one thing. As a mad traditional music fan, I can hear the heart and soul of the band, but also you've brought in instruments around you that elevate the sound and make it more modern. Is it hard to balance between traditional music and a more modern sound?
Well, as you know yourself, like walking the contours of tradition is always difficult, because we're a band that obviously has to look back because of our longevity. Like, we've over 110 years of tradition that we're drawing from. We also have to look to the present and look to the future. Right. So that negotiation is always taking place, you know, and it brings a tension, but it's a kind of a healthy tension. So we've transitioned over the years from a band that has played predominantly for Céilís to a band that perform in concert venues like here, 500 seater here in Clare. And it's a very different audience. It's not a dance audience, even though we have dancers in the audience. It's a listening audience. And we've been very lucky like that the band, we have 13 full-time members now in the band, and we've lots of experience from different genres in the band, and it allows us to explore how we arrange traditional pieces. So as you would have heard today, you'd have heard straight down the line dance pieces, but then for songs and maybe some other the pieces, newly composed pieces or whatever, we do draw on all that experience to try to put together nicely arranged pieces, so that for a listening audience that we retain their interest for what is basically a 2-hour show.
We're still carrying on the tradition, Michael, because the band originated from a brass and reed band in Kilfenora around between the 1870s and the 1900s, and the traditional musicians made up part of that brass and reed band, and they learned the harmonies, you see. They learned how to read music and they learned harmony, and they brought that into the traditional music. We even play pieces that wouldn't be strictly known as traditional pieces that have come from Austria, from everywhere, but they were part of the repertoire, and we consider it as part of our tradition as well, you know.
And even, we'll say, the famous 50s, Kaylee, the famous 50s Kilfenora band, like they were doing harmonies, you know, and doing counter melodies. Maybe not as pronounced, because obviously they were, you know, obviously the technology and all today, you can bring up your lines and your various parts of the band. But yeah, those lines I remember actually coming into the band first. In the 90s, sitting with some of the older musicians and hearing them doing lovely things on fiddles. And they were just naturally doing it. There was a natural musicality there.
Well, I, for one, am counting the minutes for this performance tonight. I've waited many, many years to hear the Kilfenora Céilí Band live, and I'm excited for tonight. Thanks very much, lads.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Very welcome.
Thanks for joining me on my travels around County Clare. I'm Michael Landra, and I hope to see you the next time on Ireland with Michael. But for now, cheers. Sláinte. To learn more about everything you've seen in this episode, or to travel to Ireland with me, go to irelandwithmichael.com.
Ireland with Michael was made possible by
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.
VenueWorks, bringing the excitement of live entertainment, sporting events, and community gatherings to venues across America.
Whether travelling to Ireland for the first time or longing to return, we will give you a warm Irish welcome. To learn more about Ireland or to plan a visit, go to ireland.com. Fill your heart with Ireland.